All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Collaboratory, the show where Mike Morris improvises an animatic with a little help from our audience, and we learn about the craft of storyboarding along the way. This is an improv art stream that runs on audience suggestions. Mike, what kind of props are we looking for from the audience today?
Well, welcome back, everybody. First of all, I want to apologize. Last time we didn't get to stream last month because of some problems that I was having here at my house with some flooding. So it was pretty bad, but things are getting fixed and back on track. So what we're looking for is characters, a setting, and a conflict. Those are the three basic building blocks that we need for doing a little bit of storytelling here on the Collaboratory.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Mike. So as he said, that's what we're looking for. So go to the comments section and feel free to jump in with your suggestions. Whatever you type might show up on screen. So think about it for a bit and we're going to get forward.
Yeah. So Faith, how long have we, when we were working together, how long was it? Like a year or better?
Yeah, about, I'd say around a year, ballpark. Mm-hmm.
So Faith and I worked on a production called The Tuttle Twins, which is streaming on angel.com. And it was a lot of fun working with you. And we're still working together tangentially right now at my new venture, the Projectorium. You can find some information about that at the-projectorium.com.
Yeah, it has been a blast. And even though we haven't worked together for about that time, it just seems like it's been maybe a day or two. You know, we just hop right back on it and just go forward. So yeah, Mike's been really, really great to learn from and collaborate with and see how he leads and guides other artists. So if you're coming on to the stream, you're going to get a little bit of that. So definitely participate if you can.
Well, I mean, you know, when we talk about storyboarding on this show, I mean, it's such a huge, thing to talk about because it encompasses so many things. It's like, you know, the building blocks of story. You have, partially, script writing, but script writing, storyboarding, it all boils down to the same thing, which is just good, solid storytelling, and having characters that have, real motivations and real life, thoughts in their heads. And, there was you're familiar with South Park, right?
Yes.
Well, Matt and Trey from South Park were talking about story, and they were, saying what you don't want to do is have a script that says this happens, well, then this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens, right? Right. That was the wrong way to approach things because it's just oh, well, we're going to rule of cool this, and this is cool to happen here, so we're going to put that in. And then this is cool to have here because we're going to put that in. And just start plugging in cool things that don't necessarily relate to one another.
Right, for sure.
But Matt and Trey were talking about, and I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with this, this happens because this happens. Right. And this happens as a consequence of this happening. And this character makes a decision which affects this. And having that sort of through line and connectivity all throughout a story really is what separates good storytelling from mediocre or even in some cases bad storytelling. For sure. You can have stellar ideas, but if they're not stringing together well, it will feel like you're driving on a car and, it's going kind of good. Then you hit a pothole every 2 minutes. It's not really smooth, right? Yeah. And you stop thinking about your journey on the road and you keep thinking about, well, when's the next pothole going to hit? Yeah, for sure. Which it sort of sucks you right out of the fun of what you're looking at, what you're doing. Exactly. So, we want our filmmaking to be as invisible as possible. So the storytelling, it has to be so good that it is virtually non-existent in the viewer's eye. Right. Sure. They're so connected with the characters. They're so connected with what's going on in the story that they're not looking at the filmmaking. They're looking at what's turning the story, Exactly. And when you have things that sort of break the plausibility of the world you set up, you know, because as we know, storytelling is about setups and payoffs in the traditional sense, right? Can you explain a little bit of that, actually, Faith? I know
for sure.
Very familiar.
Yeah, no worries. So on our show, so like we were not ourselves writing the scripts, but when you are in production and when you're on the storyboard team, you are very closely involved with the writers and the script writing process. So for example, if there was a setup and payoff that wasn't quite working, Mike or even one of the other storyboard artists would speak up and say, hey, I see that we're trying to set up this specific point, but it's not paying off later in the episode, or it might even be paying off too late. So when you have a story point, you're making a promise to the audience, for example, like, hey, this person is going to eat this apple. They're going to go to the store and they're going to eat this apple. But if you get to the end of the episode and they're, I don't know, going to the moon. I mean, going to the moon is fun, but you didn't really promise or pay off what you promised earlier. And you could still do it in a creative way. They could go to the moon and get an apple, but it's just keeping in mind of what you set up before so you can pay it off later.
Right. So if the idea of the apple is abandoned, then people would be like, well, they're on the moon now, but what happened to the apple?
For sure.
And then it's going to be a whole big thing about an apple. But
we actually do have a conflict that just came up from Scott.
Is it about an apple and the moon?
It is not quite. It's about rent. Okay, so being chased by slot machines tempting the character, wants to spend the rent money, but tries to show restraint. That is interesting.
So a gambler. We're looking at a gambler versus slot machines.
I don't think I've seen slot machines personified. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. So let's see. What we need some character for this gambler. So we have a gambler and we have somebody that has you know what? We haven't really done any kind of like crazy psychological stuff on this show. So that's going to be really fun. I mean, I think we're looking at a Pink Elephant's Dumbo scene. Is what for sure. I think we're looking at.
Yeah, long day at work, goes to sleep, and is having a nightmare about paying rent.
Yeah. So tell us about our gambler. What do they look like?
All right. So I'm thinking, I feel like gamblers, they kind of look like everyday people, you know, like if someone has a gambling problem, you don't really know for sure, but there might be little signs. So I'd say maybe like a, office worker, cubicle kind of guy, but he's like pretty tired because he's like staying up late, trying to gamble.
I don't think necessarily that they need to be trying to gamble. I think this is probably somebody that's trying to get their life put back together.
Right. Okay, we have something actually.
Oh, we have some suggestions. Great.
Yeah. So from Time to Be Wild, an old man that wants to leave his money to his grandchildren when he dies.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that could work. But I do kind of like the older man angle as well, maybe someone that should know better, but kind of falling into the same trap.
Let's see here. I think we can start with kind of like a city street.
Right. We have something from Timothy, maybe a recently divorced dad with a 5 o'clock shadow. Yeah, that's kind of closer to what you were saying, trying to get their life together.
Yeah. When I was working on The Simpsons, there was one episode from like the older ones that was Marge with a gambling problem. That one was really interesting.
Yeah, that honestly is. We have another suggestion. So following up to Timothy's recently divorced dad with a 5 o'clock shadow, but he is addicted to gambling, so is fighting. Like maybe fighting the urge, maybe? Was that what you were getting at, Time to Be Wild?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Let's get some buildings in here. This looks like a crappy intersection. We'll put like a little, street light right here and one that's like, right here.
Yeah. I feel like unless it's like Nevada or something, it wouldn't be super duper nice. If it's a gambling problem, it's probably going to be the other side of the tracks, maybe.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many of the locals actually gamble at like the bigger places.
That's true. That's a good point. Or is it most of it just on your phone now?
I've never lived in Vegas, and the only thing I would really go there for is one of the really nice buffets or something like that.
Yeah.
But we all work too hard for our money to gamble it away.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what my philosophy is. Okay, so we got this sort of a side street-ish type deal. We got a building right here that's got maybe, a store front. Maybe some upper apartments or whatever.
I know we're just sketching it out, but what time of day do you think we're looking at?
Oh, absolutely night. Absolutely night. This is something basic. We don't have a ton of time to design a whole big thing.
Yeah.
But let's get a character into here.
All right. Yeah, we were between old man and recent divorced dad.
I think maybe somebody. Let's see what.
The alleys make me think of like the classic guy in a trench coat. I don't think people.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid that trope though, because like who wears that?
I was just gonna say like no one really wears it. I like the visual, but it doesn't really happen too much.
Yeah, it's not really like a solvent thing anymore. Like I feel like I'm like drawing myself though.
Oh no. I mean, I think trench coats should come back. Like, it's really good against the rain, versus the normal raincoat. But
there just aren't as many trenches as there used to be.
Yeah, that's true. Gotta advance with the times,
Yep.
There he is.
I think that weren't trench coats kind of like a World War I thing?
Actually, I think you're right. Yeah, it came from the war and then it migrated over into civilian life.
Somebody was like, "Hey, I really miss my coat that I had in the trenches. Dude, I need another one of those."
Yeah, honestly, they might have just carried him back and someone was like, this should be a thing. We're going to make it,
Yeah. It was a good all-weather solution.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why they should come back. Next time we meet, Mike, we need to bring some trench coats. We'll start it again.
Okay, trench coats it is.
Yes.
So next time I see you probably at Sketch to Screen Summit or something, then we'll both be wearing trench coats.
For sure.
because it'll most likely be cold.
Yeah, that's true. Again, why it's so practical, but you know. Yeah, I'm liking that bigger shape. That's fun. Or, oh, he's coming towards camera. I gotcha. That's the next panel.
Yep. Let's give him a little bend on the legs so we have some directionality to the footsteps, you know.
It's very important for animation, like being clear what the character is doing when you're boarding.
Yep. Okay, let's copy that. And we can do a little bit of storyboarding trick here. And just, you know, I'm going to turn off the camera mask so we can kind of see a little bit more of what's going on. And I am just going to straight up swap those legs.
Nice.
Because we don't necessarily, you know, one of the things about, you know, working in storyboards professionally is you have to make sure that you are, you know, fast enough. And little tricks like that will help you, you know, be fast.
For sure.
If you don't have to redraw it, don't redraw it. Just reposition it.
Exactly.
So here we're going to preserve a little bit of the arc of him walking around. And I think we can start a new shot.
Nice. While you're starting that, we have a couple more comments. So from Time to Be Wowed, and inside we can't see what time it is because casinos get rid of windows and clocks. Oh yeah, so it'll just be like a really closed environment. That's good. And then from Timothy, maybe he's out for a walk after having trouble sleeping and goes for a walk when he happens upon the opportunity to gamble. Some really solid thoughts, guys. Which I'm not sure how much of it we can maybe get across in this session, but that would be kind of cool if, I'm trying to think of what movie or show that was. I don't know, I guess like Alice in Wonderland, where it's like she physically seems to be going somewhere else, but she didn't really. Like maybe the casino is like not real. It seems to be.
Yeah, maybe. I think there definitely has to be that fantasy element to this story, otherwise it's not really gonna.
Right.
It'll be just depressing.
Yeah. Yeah. The premise is already a little depressing. We want to lighten it up a little.
Okay, one thing we need to do is make sure that he has that nice slumped posture. So this is moving, this jacket part here is moving just a little bit too far forward. Let's shift that over and, you know, kind of bunch it up on him a little bit. That way we'll get that nice, you know, slump that we're looking for. And when people slump too, honest, a lot of the time their head kind of goes forward. You know, it's like when you're looking at your phone, you know, and you're craning your neck out really far.
Yep, that good phone posture.
And then another thing that you can do is like, you know, the shoulders need to be up pretty high too, because, you know, it's cold. People bunch up like that when they're cold. The trick is to not bunch up like that when you're doing other things like sleeping.
Yeah, because then you'll wake up and the whole day will be ruined. So, Mike, I noticed as you were drawing, you're not redrawing a whole lot. You're just kind of moving and shifting to kind of get the pose that you need. Yep. So how would you say that you got to that workflow, that process?
You know, it's part and parcel of the whole digital aspect of this particular software. I mean, Storyboard Pro is really good at being able just to push things around. instead of having to redraw and erase and draw and erase and draw and erase, you can just, move things as you see fit.
Mm-hmm.
And it translates really well.
For sure. Yeah, for those of you who are listening, I spend most of my time in Tune Boom Harmony, and that's a very, very useful feature, especially when you're trying to be quick.
Okay, so I think what we need here is just a small little walk cycle.
Right.
And we don't even need to do all that much to it, because we just need to bring him into camera a little bit. So we have like just some slight movement, and then we'll do a BG pan, right?
Right.
And then I'm just gonna copy or duplicate that, move it forward 1, 2, 3, and then down 2. So we have that nice, little bit of motion there. So he's like, actually walking forward just a little bit into camera, while we have a thing that, a lot of the time you'll just see people going up and down and up and down and up and down, and that's fine. You can absolutely do that, but I think giving the character just a little bit of forward momentum gives it just that much more energy.
For sure. And then, as you saw, it was kind of like a little shorthand formula, like up, across 2, up 3, it wasn't that much, just a little bit.
Yep. As long as it's consistent, right? So I prefer the arrow keys in that particular instance. So that way I have something that's, fairly consistent, like you would when you're walking. People have a fairly consistent walk when they are walking around.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's just do a couple more of these poses. And we'll go up 2, forward 3, and I'm holding down shift so I can shift 10 pixels at a time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then I think we can cut to some inner turmoil. So I think that can be I think we can play it all in the eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, eyes, as they say, window to the soul, definitely has some truth to that. So you spoke about cutting. Obviously, you have a lot of experience, but do you have any insight as to knowing intuitively when to cut? Because for example, another possibility could have been to have him maybe sigh in the wide as he's walking, but that could maybe take away from a moment like this. So how do you come to these decisions?
I think that's all about, your own filmmaking style, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all comes down to the cinematic sense that you have on your own, and how you just like to see things portrayed. I mean, we all kind of have this idea and philosophy in our own minds about how things should be and how things should look. I haven't gone to a bunch of Comic-Cons and just, just seen everybody just talking about nothing. They're talking about films. They're talking about, things and what worked, what didn't work, what looked super dumb, what looked really cool,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, everybody's got opinions. And so I think that, having those opinions is fantastic, and making sure that you are, being able to realize those visions in your drawings. Like storyboards drawings are not supposed to be the most glamorous drawings in the world. They're just supposed to be clear. They're supposed to be, able to tell the story. So you don't have to be like, an amazing draftsman, although that helps. But you just need to be able to get your point across.
Exactly. And that definitely translates into the professional field as well, because when you're on a schedule, whether it's TV or feature, getting the director's vision And the writer's vision from the script, clarity is huge. It is.
Yeah. It's a, you know, it's a balancing act.
Yep.
And we can do a little something like this. You know, I like to have a little bit of a tilt or something like that on the head. So, you know, you can really kind of tell that they're mulling things over. And I'm going to copy that first panel so we can get back to sort of the center. And I think that maybe he should furrow his brows a little bit more. You know, like, stupid, that was a dumb move to make. Or, you know, just somebody who's sort of replaying and can't let go of their mistakes.
Right.
You know, maybe we even need a flashback here.
Oh, yeah. Because up to this point, as the audience, we can tell something's wrong, but we don't know exactly what yet.
Yeah. And I think maybe we can do like that in sort of like a flash sort of, you know, situation.
Yeah, maybe this is where we get to the divorce or seeing sad kids, maybe just a quick arguing panel.
Let's start with the success. Let's see that he, you know.
Yep, goes back to what we were just saying, set up and payoff. It even works in shorter instances like this.
We got him playing cards. You know, we got some round table. And he doesn't look nearly as
frazzled. Looks very
confident. He's, you know, on top of his game. Let's put his elbows on the table because, you know, elbows on the table.
Yeah, you mean business then.
You got to show that there's you know, maybe something that's not as classy about this guy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Maybe show like some bodies behind him, like people are really interested to see how this game is going to go.
I think, you know, maybe we could put like you know, somebody with like a cocktail waitress with drinks and, you know, maybe we'll put some, let's just grab all of this and we'll move it up a bit so we can have a little bit of, you know, chips. We can see the people's chips. You can see, you know, the cards. We have to describe the scene really well.
Yep.
And then you have maybe some slot machines back here somewhere. And people. I mean, all of it can be played in silhouette, so it's seems a little bit more dreamy and more, you know, non-objective in a way.
Right.
And for like a real production, obviously, you know, clean this up significantly. You know, but everybody would be in silhouette here.
Right.
So I'm just going to switch to one of my marker brushes. And we're going to do draw behind. And then we're just going to start, you know, filling in some of these things.
Nice.
So silhouettes.
While you're filling that out, we have a suggestion. Maybe he should see the casino first so he has the flashback. So it's like one is triggering the other.
Well, I think what we could do, I think what might be the better play in that particular instance is that we see what he was, we see the problems that gambling caused, and then he's confronted by his demon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we have like, oh, this was a great thing for me, and then all of a sudden it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be the stronger play in this particular instance. Although I understand the sentiment.
Yeah, for sure.
The story sense that was at display there.
Right.
It's people, and then there's like some sort of like crazy, stuff in the sky or whatever, or on the walls, ceilings.
And I feel like that note on the timing of like different beats and motivations, that can go back and forth a lot. Like I remember in like a lot of story meetings that we had, for the most part, like the director knew the beats that they wanted, and the story artist understood those beats, but sometimes the ordering of it needed to be changed in order to get the point across. So that definitely happens quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that that's one of the reasons why for years and years, all that stuff was done in Post-it notes.
Yeah, much easier to just switch it right then and there.
Yep. Let's get our boy here. And he's all in,
I mean, although this decision we're setting up to not be a good one, that is a good thing to have, confidence. Just got to make sure it's well placed,
Yep. And then one more. And have the read 'em and weep kind of attitude.
Yeah, he's already planning to eat prime rib steak after this. Like he's very sure.
Winter chicken dinner, right?
Yep. I don't know, steak or chicken. That's a tough one. It might depend on the day.
And then we'll put like a bunch of more stuff in there. And then again, we can take these vectors, skew them over so they're working. And then have this be like the big, chip pile in the middle. And these guys are now out of chips because everybody went all in. And then he can, be like, what's up?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we could do is this is ripe for a cool transition. I think this is
that could be fun.
I think one thing that we can do here is this is very much like a CG type of move. But one thing that we can do is I'm going to do this and turn this red. I mean, I could use the onion skin, but sometimes this is just a little bit more immediate for me. We're going to do this where we're flipping up the table.
Oh yeah, just like do a swoosh and come back on the other side.
Yeah. So we're seeing the table go up and the chips and all of that sort of thing. And of course, sorry guys for these like super derpy drawings, but again, we are trying to just tell the story, not necessarily do pretty drawings.
That's
pretty drawings come later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then that select by color, and then we can delete all the other things. We can have this guy there and that guy there. And then we can put like, ace, 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 king, there's spade, diamond, club, heart. So he's got, a super awesome hand.
Right.
The double-sided king, got a really, really good hand. And, we can go even into something like this, where the table is turning and we're zooming in.
Oh, I see.
So, and I think I'm going to try and do this thing where the cards kind of fan over the whole scene and create a cool, a cool reveal.
Okay,
so
I see where you're going now.
Will be significantly larger here.
Right.
And then this is what I is an object wipe. So we're using these objects in the scene to wipe instead of just doing like a normal video style transition.
Right, for sure. And actually, even though this is like a much flashier transition, like in terms of production, it's not too bad. I mean, it is 3D. So like if your show has 3D and that's not a problem, this is essentially, the same props that you're using. You're just using them to transition. So you can still be efficient, but have fun transitions.
And one of the things that I think is poignant about this particular wipe over is that at the end we see the king, right? So he's the king right now, and at this point in his life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's about being able to put in some of that subtle subtext that people don't necessarily pick up on, but they feel it.
Right.
And that it takes sometimes a little bit of analysis to get through a lot of that stuff and be like, oh, wow, that was interesting. Where you put in those little tidbits for your audience.
For sure, it's good material for the YouTubers that do 101 things you missed in so and so.
Right. Yeah, because that's what we make media for, us to fuel YouTubers.
Yeah, for sure. I
have a question for the audience, though. How do you guys feel about YouTubers that like basically just live off of other people's content that they created? Ooh. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Is that like, do you think it's valid, or do you think that's like something that's kind of like, well, you don't have anything of your own, so you're just going to piggyback off of Marvel or piggyback off of whatever? What do you guys think about that kind of thing? I'm curious to know. Like, I'm fairly ambivalent, but sometimes I feel like people are just sort of taking advantage.
That is a thought. Time to be wild. This is a compliment, but I'm sure people are typing. They said that's a great transition idea. Plus, I think the drawings are nice and clear. You're doing great.
Thank you. All right. So we have these two, and then we'll do one more. With the king.
Nice. Well, while we're waiting on comments, I was actually going to say, if you're trying to get more into storytelling and, intuitively thinking about these subtext things, those videos are good to watch for people that break it down. I mean, it's good to break it down yourself too, but
Right. There is a certain merit to, hearing other people's analysis on things.
Yeah.
That is really great. I mean, I'm there's a few different people that I like listening to for that sort of thing. So yeah, but film analysis and stuff like that, story analysis, I think that's that's pretty. It can be pretty cool.
For sure. Sorry if I butchered your name. I'm going to try though, because it's always good to try. So Bella Monjuin, it's like BeleMonguin. They said you can't fight it, which I think that's fair. I mean, YouTube is a pretty huge company, so.
Well, it's not about fighting it. It's just like, do you guys think that that's valid? You think that's a valid use of people's time?
Right. Or you could also say, like, if you had the time and opportunity, like, would you do it? Sneedstream says, I think it's cool to start a discussion about shows and more people might watch it. That's true.
Yeah,
I know that.
And I don't have any particular position on it. I just want to. I wonder.
Yeah, for sure.
What people's view of that is. Let's make him the king of spades. Nice. Give him like some cool royal looking deal.
So Timothy says, it is if they can offer some relevant commentary or making an interesting point, but much of it is AI assisted. That's a good point. And comes off as buzzwords just to drive the algorithm and nothing substantial.
Right. So it's just like a money making scheme more than anything else. Not really contributing anything, you mean, but more just living off of what the algorithm can provide.
Yeah. That was a really great point because, AI assisted, like even writing, that is definitely a reality now.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, I see a lot of like AI written sci-fi.
I have not come across that too much myself.
But in the AI written sci-fi, at least, like humans are relatively well regarded in the universe.
I guess that's good to know. Not quite to Terminator yet.
So we have him
now. Oh yeah, let's see here.
And he's in some sort of bed. He's got, chips everywhere.
You have to make I was going to say a money angel, but snow angel, chip angel.
Yeah, right? So let's put some money in there. And maybe he's got now a romantic companion.
Oh yeah.
Who's going to come into the scene.
Definitely there for his personality. Let's see, we have some more thoughts coming in with the YouTube analysis. Time to Be Out says, it depends. I think if it's funny, like they add a comic thing of their own, if the YouTuber isn't just reacting, but also adding something to the content already created, fine. If it's just nitpicking, no, that's true. Like a lot of it can be nitpicking and not in a helpful way, Adonis says, how do you see your workflow evolving with AI? So it's a question for you, Mike.
Well, I mean, AI, it's a tricky subject, because everybody's got like real opinions about things. It's fast. but and I have some friends. If you guys want to really see somebody who's doing some cool stuff with AI, or at least his workflow is really interesting, take a look at a guy named Martin Nebelong. He's got a lot of really cool stuff that he's doing in Dreams for PS5, and using like AI overlays.
Oh, interesting.
So, there's parts of that sort of tech that I think could be really, really interesting. Like the idea of maybe doing the whole, auto in-betweener stuff for animation, because, that sort of stuff is definitely on its way, right?
Yeah.
Being able to produce. So in that way, I think it has a lot of really interesting benefits for people who want to be like, one-stop shop or auteur type folks.
Right.
Like that instead of hiring employees, you can have an AI that does all your work, but you're basically hiring a tech bro at that point.
Yeah.
Which, also has its own
drawbacks.
Yeah, it has its own things with subscriptions and all this other stuff. Let's see. Let's do one more.
I had a couple thoughts of the AI sci-fi. So Time Throughout says, "Oh God, AI writing about how it will enslave us." And then Timothy replied, "Even with concerns over AI tech, the idea of a sci-fi series written with its assistance does put a very interesting layer of depth to the concepts." Oh well.
Okay, so you've got maybe, some, we can see the tangible, like, benefits to, this guy being successful in gambling.
Right.
He's got money, he's got love, he's got, all that sort of stuff. The sort of the worldly trappings of success, right?
Right. You could draw that stake in there. I'm just kidding. It probably would be confusing, but
steak, like a steak that's like partially eaten.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe some champagne that's spilled all over the place.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we'll have that. Again, that's just another layer of storytelling that you can add that adds that little bit of extra interest to what you're doing, and can be like really an interesting part of what you're doing. Like it is a descriptor, right?
Right.
And then we can do another thing where we'll get on a different layer, and I am going to draw a big heart like this, right? I'm going to zoom out, and that is going to go onto an ace of hearts.
Oh, nice. So I feel like there's like two setup and payoffs here that we have with the cards. So like if you have an idea, there's not really anything saying you only have to use it once. There's different ways you can use it.
Right. We can do this. Then one of the other things that we can do also is I am going to automat that. Right? Whoop, I got some gaps in my automat, so I got to fix that. So let's up the size of the brush some so we can see it a little bit better. Make sure we don't have any gaps. I don't even have to like pick up my stylus at all, during that whole process. So I have mine set to tilde to create a mat on a new layer. And now I have a mat on that layer, and I'm going to grab my cutter, and I'm going to cut out this part. Right? And I'm going to change that to a different color. Okay. And then also right now, I'm going to I'm going to put that on a different layer. Put that on the BG layer. And then I'm going to turn the opacity down on that one. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to duplicate this. And then with all three of these selected, wrong one, not the cutter, but the selection tool. And then that's going to zoom in like this. Right? As they're, kissing on the bed or whatever. And we're going to zoom in over them. And now we are going to take this one and turn the opacity up. And we're going to turn the opacity down here.
Mm-hmm. Get that transition going.
Yeah. And there's ways you can do this with keyframes.
Right.
So this one goes up. That one goes down to nothing. And then we're going to take these three. And then add a couple other cards.
Nice.
So I'm going to grab this outline here that we've done. And I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to turn it this way. Then I'm going to paste that again, and I'm going to put another one here. I'm going to paste that again. I'm going to put another one right here. And another one right about there.
Nice.
And then just sort of like get rid of that, this, that.
So while you're getting to those cards, we actually have a question. There's some setup to the question. So some shows and games, especially video games, tell a story only through tiny little details or even puzzles. Sometimes those channels with the 50 things you missed in whatever just make it easier to follow a story that is hidden in details. So here's my question in return. What do you think about those cartoons that add a new layer to the story that is told through tiny details of the background or even hidden in puzzles and ARGs? So many new cartoonists try to do that.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I know Gravity Falls did a bit of that where they, storytelling often is layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. And I think that weaves a very interesting tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's cool, personally. Right. I think that, it can be really an interesting thing to have in your show, just having weave those elements back and forth, back and forth. I do that a lot when I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. So when I'm doing storytelling that way, I'll leave things in and do setups that don't pay off until like way later. But then people remember, oh my gosh, that was the thing that led to that was the guy, or whatever.
For sure.
And that can be really exciting when you're working on something like that, laying in those things that then pay off for people, and then they're excited about like, oh my gosh, how did they set that up? And you go back and you look and you're like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
So we got, now this guy's got a hand of like nothing, right? So we'll put like a diamond right here, and then copy and paste that right there, copy and paste that, put that right there. And then we'll take these and copy and paste those. Paste those. So we got, nines. We got,
right.
A two of spades. So this guy's got nothing. Zero.
Oof.
Zilcho. So the knave here. That's upside down.
So, Mike, where do we see our flashback kind of?
It's about to truncate.
Nice.
Okay, and then this can be a club here. And again, we're just going to grab that. I'm going to flatten that so it's all one piece. 2, 3, 4, 5. Do. I think I remember how these are positioned.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yep, there you go.
Yeah, positioned like that. So it's been a while since I played cards. All right, and so that we can just have, maybe we'll even put in one more little transition right here.
Nice.
So we get a better, whoops, all of it.
While you're working on that, we have a comment from Madonna. So she said, thank you for mentioning Martin Nemelong. I haven't heard of him. And of course, thank you both. I'm enjoying the stream and learning a great deal. Thanks for coming, Adana. We're glad that you're with us.
Yeah, and I've been on streams with Martin and seen his process, and I hosted a couple of streams with IMAG masterclasses. And Martin has a really, really good process, really good insights on where things are going. And he's been actually on the forefront of developing processes, which, that's always a big deal. Okay, so we've got new scene really right here. And then we'll have that same gambling table from before. We'll take this. And then we'll just straight up paste it. And now instead of the waitress right there, we'll have, her with her arm around her man.
Right.
But he's
that's when it starts to turn.
Yeah, things are falling apart quick. And again, we're not going to spend a ton of time on
so like when you thumbnail, well, of course, it depends on what project you're working on. It could vary quite a bit. But on average, how long do you try to spend on a thumbnail pass?
As little time as possible, but as much time to make sure that it reads properly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, this is about communication. It's about being able to take an idea from your brain and help somebody else understand it. Right? So I take as long as I need to, but I try to make it as quick as possible.
Right.
So there's no like hard and fast answer. Like, I take exactly 3 milliseconds to do one line. Like that. It's not a thing.
Right.
And I think we can do a shot right here with, he's got a couple of chips still going on. And then those chips the little deal that the people have in gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Like
oh yeah, what do you call those things?
Yeah.
I know exactly what it is, but not the name.
Little card dealer's shepherd's crook, whatever it is. Then again, we can take those elements and just shift them over to where we need them. You know?
Yeah, I love that you can extend. Like you don't even have to draw another line. Just grab it, pull it out.
Yeah. Just grab those things. I mean, vector drawing really changes the game with storyboard stuff. I mean, I tried doing some of the more pixel-based things for doing a storyboard once after doing Storyboard Pro. It took me like 4 times as long to do it. It just took so much longer than doing it in Storyboard Pro. So I was like, never again. Never again am I putting myself through that torture.
For sure. Like there's been times where I would maybe just start a drawing in Tune Through Harmony just because of the vector, because I needed to get it out quick, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few different softwares that, I entertain as far as stuff that I use. But Storyboard Pro really, really for boarding, I mean, that's that's the long and the short of it for me, you know?
Right. It's the industry standard.
It's just so efficient. And if we had more time, I would separate this into proper layers of BG so we wouldn't have to, be shifting a bunch of stuff around that doesn't need to be shifted around. But in this case, we're built for speed right now, so.
Mm-hmm.
This is all thumbnail pass type stuff.
Right. Yeah, that organization, if any of you all are doing your own projects and things like that, even if you're just drawing something in Photoshop, labeling your layers and even coloring them, it's going to save your future self, especially when you're coming back. Or if you're working on a team, someone's coming into your file and it's not really clear what's going on, that can maybe slow down their process as well. So layering and naming is very, very important.
Okay, another thing I think we can do in this particular instance is we can add like the silhouette of somebody like right here.
Mm-hmm.
Just to add a little bit more visual interest and have the consistency of somebody right at the table right there. And then also afterward, we can see the lady storming off.
She's gone.
She's gone. She doesn't want to be with some broke loser.
So are we going to see her leave out of the door or maybe like pass by some people?
If we had more time, then yes.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But I think in this case, we're just going to go for the straight walk out.
Sounds good.
Cocktail dress. And then I think maybe we can even do a transition where things just sort of crumble away.
Yeah.
Where all of this stuff just sort of like cracks and
that's nice.
Starts to
I mean, that's what happened. Not in a literal sense, but emotionally.
Yeah. And everything just sort of like, crumbles to dust and cracks away. And, we're doing the snap from Endgame or from...
You beat me to it.
Infinity
That's what I was thinking. just think that's really cool, like how a visual motif, like if it's from something popular enough, like we all just know, like Thanos snap, that's what it is. But I mean, we've seen that happen before. But
yeah, it's not a new thing.
Yeah,
it's not it's something fading into dust and doing whatever. It's happened all over the place, you know.
For sure.
But the idea of it is there, and again, subtext. We're seeing like somebody's glory days, you know, gone. And then we come back to homeboy way from back here. Copy that panel. Actually, not that panel. This panel.
Oh, thanks, Corin. They said we need more of this type of stuff online.
What?
Corin was saying we need more of this type of stuff online. So just like this learning atmosphere, like going through the process.
Well, you are in luck, my friend, because we do have a backlog of a bunch of different episodes of the Collaboratory that you can look back on and check out and see all of the stuff that we've been doing for a while. We're at episode number 42, I think. We did have some specials that were like Ottawa Film Festival, I think, and one other special that we did where I did my best to draw, what was it, Tim Hortons?
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, because it was Ottawa.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But there is a whole big catalog of not only Collaboratory, but also a bunch of different stuff from the Toon Boom Learning. And it's out there. Check out the Toon Boom website. Check out Toon Boom Learn. Look at the Twitch channel with all the stuff on it, the YouTube channel. And we can have Janelle put some links to those in the chat. And so you guys can have that and be able to use those resources. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, one thing I love about Toon Boom is that a lot of the concepts transfer between the different programs, because although I'm not a storyboard artist by trade, I have had to use it a couple times for some different things. I mean, because I knew Toon Boom Harmony, coming into Storyboard Pro, that wasn't as much of a scary jump as I thought it would be. So
yeah, it's pretty aligned over the different softwares. We are working on getting an episode of the Collaboratory where we also use Toon Boom, one of Toon Boom's newest offerings, Jump, which Jump is for doing games. So it is a sort of non-linear storyboarding that you can do for a gaming project.
That is really exciting.
We are working on an episode of the Collaboratory utilizing that. Okay, and now we can do a shot of our boy here and, casino. Everything is, up in lights. There's a big deal right here and all of this stuff. And he's just kind of, how did I get here?
See, time to be wild. I think I might need a bit more context to what you're saying. I think the colors are the biggest difference between the two. Or were you talking about Storyboard Pro and Toon Boom Harmony? Maybe?
Yeah, we need more information to that statement.
Yeah, that light's got to be blinding. See that back shadow?
Yeah, all of the glitz, all the glamour, everything. And if we had more time, we'd obviously lay this out better because, we would definitely need to have it be a very grand thing. Make sure it's in frame so we can see it. We can even have him be off screen a little bit so we don't necessarily see his feet. That makes him even smaller in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this guy that has a gambling problem, and he's confronted with being at a casino. There's the big buildings, fancy cars, and all this other stuff that's happening there. The big doors, fountains, all this glamorous looking stuff.
Mm.
And he could be like horrified. And this is the part of the episode where my drawings get even worse.
It's about ideas. Which I feel like we've all been there. Like even if you've never been to art school, that time is ticking down, and you just gotta get it in.
And he winces. One other thing that's great about vector is I can just go like this, whoop,
Yep.
And then switch the eyeballs around a little bit. So he's gonna cower a little bit.
Mm.
And switch to a point of view. I think that can be even higher and more menacing. If it's going to be a point of view.
Yeah, that's another thing about going back to the film language as well, like knowing what type of shots tend to communicate what feeling.
Yep. And that's a little bit of study. You learn the rules of cinematography, how to, stage things so you're not flopping things back and forth, confusing your audience. And just making sure that you understand why. So many people focus on the what and the where, but they don't focus on the why and the how. And those are questions that are like really, really important to be able to answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in this case, we can even have like, I think like having like a $20 bill all of a sudden rise into the scene.
I have a question from Nicktoons. How do you set the timing of the storyboards?
On the timing of the storyboards, you can do in the timeline. And there's tutorials on how to do that on a much larger scale than what we have time for here. You can find that on the Toon Boom Learning site. But essentially, this little timeline down here, I can just drag these things back and forth, and it'll show me like how many frames I'm using, or how many seconds, or whatever, depending on if you have frames or timeline. And in this case, this is talking about seconds. So this is like 19 seconds long, or 1 minute long, or 1 second long, whatever. It's I like to have mine on frames most of the time. But you see this rickety old dollar come up in here, and we see that this guy has raised the dollar himself.
Oh, nice. But he's already made his decision at this point. He's just delaying it.
That it's him holding up the dollar. Like subconsciously, the $20.
And poor guy.
No. Let's copy that. I think we also need to zoom out a little bit on this so we can see that fully and clearly it is him holding it up. You know?
I'm assuming this is his last 20, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's quite possible. In the one hand, stomps the other one down. You know, so we have a no, get back in my pocket. No. You know. And then he hears something off screen.
Time to Be Wild says that was unexpected with the dollar reveal. That was nice.
Thanks.
And then Nicktoons follow-up. Also, how do you determine how long a scene is going to be? I can jump in real quick from a production perspective. Normally, you're going to follow, like if you're working on a show or a feature, you're going to follow what needs to happen in the script. Normally, we have, time constraints for a TV or feature that you can't go over. So as you're making it, certain beats and story points as you go on will need to be longer than others. Like say it's a high emotional part of the story, and that just needs a little bit more time than maybe someone, eating a sandwich. So on the show that we worked on, that's normally how we would make those decisions. But yeah, Mike, do you have any thoughts on that?
Play it. Yeah. You have to play it and see if it feels right. If you feel like it's not giving you enough time to see what's going on, if you feel like that emotional beat needs a little bit more of a emphasis, if things are moving so fast you don't understand what's going on, then just play it and feel it. That's my best advice.
Yeah.
Hey Dave, you want to come into the casino?
Oh, that's so fun.
So we're gonna do a little tricky trick right here, and I'm gonna swap this around, and then size it up a little bit. Here's another tool that I think people don't use enough, is the perspective tool. Oops. So I can select this, and then I can make this into what I need it to be.
Nice. Once this panel gets wrapped up, Mike, it's time to run the animatic. We have about 10 minutes left.
Okay. Well, I mean, I need just a little bit more time, right?
Yeah.
And I think if we really had some fun, we could do like, the.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, like the letters turning into the mouth. Or like facial features.
You want to come in.
That is really funny, but also horrifying at the same time. It's a giant sign.
No, no. You know, that kind of fever dreamish type stuff. Can't, no, I won't. And that's when our old friends, the slot machines, roll in.
Yeah, there they are.
You know, diamond. And he can look in horror, scrunch him up even more, put that head down even more. As the slot machines come into his space. More and more. They're after him. They're going to get him.
Oh, that's super cool. Sneedstream says that what you're doing is great. Their final year in animation is about a guy that cheats at poker, so this is really inspiring.
Oh, cool. And all of them are like, you know, there's like the lemon or whatever. Play with us. Come play with us. You know you want to. And they, you know, crowd in on him, and he's getting more and more claustrophobic, and, you know, he's pulled in. He's even lower as these things, you know, sort of enforce a dominant position on him.
Macon says the gestures and expressions are great. And Jose Designs are asking, where's the perspective button from earlier?
It's underneath the white arrow right here. It's a subset of the contour editor. And they'll start spinning. And they'll start like gushing cash.
And then does he like drown in it?
Yeah. And it all piles up. Let's do that on a separate layer. All this money starts, all this change starts piling up. Psychological horror. That's what we're in now.
Yeah, like if you got it sound to this, like the slots changing and then the money coming out, like all of this chaos, like that's quite a lot.
And then all of this stuff is coming up and higher and higher. And you know, let's do this. I'm going to turn on my draw behind and also my fill button. And I'm just going to do a quick little this so we can see it very, very, very clearly. What's going on? You see all of all the money start gushing out. You got to make sure that you close your lines, otherwise it doesn't fill.
Yeah.
All right. And then we'll do one more, and this guy will have been overwhelmed with all of this stuff. Something like that, and we'll put that up there.
Yep, put that up.
And then I think we need to go back to reality for one last little bit.
Back to reality.
This guy, like, you know, will have the casino, and it's not nearly as grand, and it's kind of like a little podunk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah! Running away. As fast as his legs
not even open.
And there's like, maybe somebody that's right here. You're like, huh, weird. This guy's running for his life away from this casino. There's the fountain. And it doesn't look nearly as grand in this one as it did with the upshot.
Right. This is reality.
Yep. And he runs away. And then this other dude just kind of like, yeah, oh well. Starts walking in. Need to do one more panel. That. All right, cool. Now let's do the replay. From the top. Okay, we have, you know what? This requires camera mode.
There we go.
Camera view. All right, so we have our guy, and he's walking along a lonely Las Vegas street. And see the lonely, empty buildings panning behind him as he walks forward, thinking about his life and how he was a big shot. And he was winning all the time. Just card hand after card hand. He was the king. He's on a bed full of money, chips, beautiful women, kissing them. And then all of a sudden, everything is gone. All of his money taken. His woman gone. Everything is to dust. And he looks up. Oh no, how did I get here? No. It's like, what's wrong, friend? And then this shaking $20 bill comes up. Oh, I see you've still got $20. No. What's the matter? Don't you trust your old friend Casino? And all the slot machines start ringing. Ching, ching, brr, brr. Oh. And they all have their flashing lights, and they start spitting out change. And he's like, ah! And he runs away, and some guy's like, what's wrong with that guy? He starts walking into the casino.
Nice.
And that's the end.
Cleaned and buttoned up. Great work, Mike.
Thanks.
Scott,
well, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for your cooperation, your participation, and your wonderful questions. Yeah. So we try to make sure we stream this every month. So for those of you who are here for educational purposes, please come back. We love having you here, and we love doing this show for you.
All right, Mike, thank you for joining us once again for Collaboratory. Do you have any projects or topics that you would like to draw our attention to before we leave?
Well, this coming Thursday, tomorrow, I'm going to be at the CTNX show in Burbank, doing a panel with the Eat Your Peas mentorship. And we're going to be talking about the process of animation from conception to completion. So it's going to be like a 2.5 hour workshop, I believe. And we're going to be on stage. We're going to be talking. We're going to be discussing animation and discussing all the parts of production. And also check out the Eat Your Peas mentorship.
Yes.
And we can put a link to that in the chat. But, you can also go back to our episode with Lindsay Knoller, who is the chief architect of Eat Your Peas. So if you're going to be at CTNX, please come say hi. I would love to meet some of you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much, Mike. And yeah, just to say that again, Eat Your Peas is great. If you love this kind of content from Toon Boom, definitely head over and check them out. Thank you to everyone who joined us for Collaboratory. So if Mike could draw, a struggling gambling man in about 90 minutes, think about what you could draw in just 3 weeks. You can download a 21-day trial of Storyboard Pro from the website at toonboom.com and find free video tutorials at learn.toonboom.com. And if you are looking for something more intensive, be sure to visit blog.toonboom.com for articles about storyboarding, animation, and 2D games. Until next time, thanks everyone.
All right, see you next time, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.